What is going on, everybody on YouTube? Steve here with Raiken Profit, coming back to you guys with another live show. And I'm super excited today. I'm really excited today because we've got an awesome guest who graciously came on the show and is going to bless us with some knowledge. We've got a seller who I believe, and I hate throwing numbers out, but I've got to do this every now and then because, literally it blew my mind. Sold over $1 million, and correct me if I'm wrong, but sold over $1 million last year with used books, primarily as a merchant. So that's pretty big right there. And this guy's been doing big things. He's been adding a lot of value. He's got some really cool YouTube videos. And I still remember watching one of the videos, seeing your warehouse and all the volume and the employees. And I was like, wow, this guy is awesome. So I finally had the courage to reach out to you and ask you to come on. And you said yes. So I'm very happy to have you here. And I want to introduce the one and only Greg Murphy from busproofbusiness.com. So Greg, why don't you say hello to everybody, introduce yourself, and tell them who you are.
Hey guys, thanks again, Steve, for having me here. Yeah, my name is Greg Murphy from, like Steve said, busproofbusiness.com. Me and my partner, Brian Young, we have different types of book businesses, but basically I buy books by the tractor trailer load. We sort about 60 tons, give or take, of used books each and every week. I have a staff of around, right now, 15 guys, but when we're fully staffed, it's about 20. We had a few folks that got let go last week. But yeah, we have 2 conveyor system lines. And so that's how we run all those books. We do mostly merchant fulfilled. We do textbooks FBA and some other FBA. And I also have a local used bookstore as well.
Wow, that's really cool. So hold on, I can't tell if I heard you correctly. You said you have at any given time 15 to 20 employees working for you, helping to process books. You're getting tractor trailer loads in of books, and you're doing about 60 tons per week. Is that correct, or was I hearing something?
No, yeah, that's definitely correct. At least 60 tons a week, and when we're really ramping up, we can do upwards of 80 tons a week.
Wow, that is awesome, Greg, man. So again, thanks for coming on, and I'm super excited not only to bring this content to my audience, but also to be able to pick your brain as well, because this is freaking awesome. So guys, I want to let you know, if you are watching live right now, I don't think it matters if you're on the mobile device or on your desktop. There is a live chat. So if you are on your desktop, that's going to be on your right-hand side, and you could ask a question. And we're going to get to some Q&A. We're going to open up the floor and whatnot. So be sure to ask a question, say hello. Also, I'd like to ask you to hit the like button. It really helps to be able to get this video out on YouTube, helps to share this content with people who really want to learn about it and can help them make money. And it makes us feel good. Lets us know we're on the right track. So hit the like button and get in the comment section and say hello. I'm actually looking in the comments right now, and we have God's Fave saying, hey, I am here. We got JoJo Vlog. I believe that's Joe Clay from the Green Room. So we got the Green Room representing in the house today. What's going on, Joe? Really happy to have you here. We got Max, such a deal. I love that name right there. And he's already asking a question. We're going to get to some questions in a few minutes. Troy Thomas, what's going on, Troy? So thanks everybody for watching. Murray Zuckerman, there's a lot of people coming on in. Appreciate the love, but we're going to dive into this video. But first thing I want to say as well is Greg also gave us the opportunity to be able to get a free 3-part video course talking about how he pretty much makes money and how you can make money selling books. So if you do want that free course, it's absolutely free. Go into the description below and you can get that. I'm also going to put an annotation on the screen somewhere over here once this video goes live. So make sure to get that 3-part video course. It's really helpful. There's a lot of value in it, and I think it'll really help you guys out. So with that being said, let's dive into this content and start off with the first question, which is why books, right? There's so many things that you can sell, Greg. There's books, there's electronics, there's brand new toys, there's wholesale, private label, all these different types of platforms and ideas and products, and there's a million different directions you can go. Why did you decide to go down the road of books, and especially used books?
Well, the way it happened for me is I was broke in college. My wife and I were super broke, and she was actually selling her clothes on eBay. She was selling her clothes on eBay just to pay bills. And I was a senior in college, either that or my first year of grad school. I don't recall right now. But I had a bunch of econ textbooks because I was an economics major, and the school wouldn't buy them back. And so we ended up finding out that, hey, actually, I can actually sell these for $40 or $50 a piece on Amazon. And so I did that, and then we got a stipend check. The school was paying me to help teach and help out, and for like $4,000, which was supposed to pay for all my bills for the entire quarter or semester. I don't remember which one. And so I said, babe, here's what we should do. I should take all this money and buy accounting books from all my buddies at school. And she said, no. She said, no, that's idiotic. And I did it anyway, like an idiot. And I was lucky that you know, Steve, as you know, there's a textbook season, and I was really lucky to do this around the January textbook season.
Perfect.
If I would have done this in May, you probably would never heard of me. So so the good news is I did it in around January, and I was able to buy all the accounting books, triple my money, and we were off to the races. So, and you ask why I don't go to other stuff. I did some toys in Q4 a few years back, and I've done other things, but I'm just spoiled with the margins. I mean, that's really what it is. That's really the big reason. Is I like to be able to buy stuff for $1 and sell it for $10.
Yeah, there's nothing like the margins with books, and like I was saying before the show, my Amazon income is about 30% derived from books, and there's a lot of money to be made in books. I don't know if people realize this or not, but there is a ton of money to be made with books, and not just textbooks, right? A lot of people think the money's only in the textbooks. Can you talk about maybe other types of books other than just, you know, accounting books and stuff like that, that people wouldn't really think were worth money, but you could actually make good money with them?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people say you get a lot of really bad advice about books everywhere that you go. The truth is that you're not going to know what a book is worth until you scan it almost all the time. I do this for a living. I probably scan more books than almost anybody in the world. Personally, I mean, it's what I do, you know, a lot. So, and I'll tell you that I would say 8 times out of 10, I can't tell if a book is worth money until I scan it. But as we all know, you know, nonfiction is most likely to be valuable. The most expensive book that I've ever sold, I think $2,700. It was a book that the Goodwill had already scanned, or supposedly they'd already sorted, and I bought it as recycling. And it was I can't remember the name of it. Margin of Error, or Margin of Safety. No, Margin of Safety. And what it is it's a book that, like, you can even get it the PDF online for free, but it's a book that the stock market guys have to, like, feel fancy. It was a very limited run, and so they put it on their shelves. It's like a finance book from the 90s, and there's like 800 or 1,500 of them left in the world, and we just happened to find one in a recycling Gaylord.
Wow. So that the title of that was Margin of Safety. For everyone watching right now, look that up. I wonder if it's still going for a high price. I know some of the values change, but that's really, really cool. So when you scanned that book, did it come up as a ridiculous price? Were there other sellers, or was there no listing? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, no, there's always other sellers. I've actually sold 2 since I've started. I was hoping I got about 1 a year for 2 years, and I was hoping that trend would continue. But the first one, you know, I'm not involved in all of the operations at the business. So the first one, I didn't even know that we had it until it sold. And so the second one, I did know that we had that one.
I'm looking it up right now, man. This is the real deal. The merchants are starting at $1,735, and I'm trying to see what the rank is on this thing. It just looks like a normal book, Margin of Safety.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what the rank is. 456,000. This thing is selling, man. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, it does. It usually hovers between 400,000 or 500,000 and about $1 million.
So let me just ask you straight up, man, for the people watching. Looks like we got about 50 people on this call. So I do want to thank everybody for coming on to this call. Maggie, what's going on? Max, Brandon Lee, what's up? Thanks for watching. I do want to ask you, on average, how many books are you guys typically selling per week? How many are you processing?
Oh, we process, well, I mean, process it might mean different things to you and to me. but we process
Like
60
shipping
times a
out.
week, which is a lot. Shipping out, yeah, we ship out about, including all the marketplaces, between 600 and 800 books a day.
Wow.
This time of the year. So yeah, I don't know what that equals a week.
Yeah,
So I guess
that's
4,200 to 6,400 or so.
that's a lot of books right there. That is a ton of books. So that's really cool, Greg, and that was an awesome story. What are some of the advantages? I know we talked about margins already, and I know there's a lot of advantages that I could already list off. But what in your opinion is some of the advantages to dealing with books over other various products?
Well, one of the things that is important to understand about books is that the places that you're going to be getting them from hardly ever see the value. To them, most of the time, they're junk. If you go to a thrift store, they have 10 times as many books in the back as they have on their shelves, and they don't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that same thing is true with libraries. The same thing is true with bookstores. Even is that there's always more books than there is room for, and so a lot of people treat books as garbage. Now, that is not true for video games or TV sets or clothes or shoes or any of these other categories. So that's why the margins are what they are.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you can't even get a video game in a thrift store without asking the person to take it out from the glass case. I mean, it's like it's treasure, even some of the lower end ones. But yeah, books, I mean, there's an abundance of books, right? There are like, I started off reselling, Greg, actually selling clothing, right, on eBay. That's how I got my start after I kind of transitioned from like bicycles on Craigslist. And one of the main reasons why I loved selling clothing is because what are the two most abundant things you see when you go in any thrift store? It's clothing and books, right? And I just love the abundance. I don't know. Have you ever had like, I don't know what your story is back in the day, but did you ever have trouble like finding products to resell? I mean, I did. I had a lot of trouble finding electronics and finding calculators and bicycles. And that's what made me kind of run into other types of selling like books and stuff, because there really is an abundance, man. And they're easy to ship, right?
Yeah, certainly. They're definitely easy to ship. When I started, it was in my basement, and I did all merch fulfilled 6 years ago. And I had a basement that when the power went out, the sump pump would stop, and the basement would start filling up with water in the storm. Right? So what I would have to do is I had all these bookshelves in my basement, so I'd have to go down in the middle of the night when the power went out and get all the books off the bottom shelf, so that they wouldn't get ruined. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I've been through the whole way. I mean, we built our business to where it is. With I think we ended up at the most took $10,000 on a credit card to start buying product after we proved the concept, and we're going to do probably between 1.8 and 2.2 this year.
1.8 and 2.2 million dollars this year selling books.
Yeah.
I get a lot of questions asking, Steve, is there still money to be made with books? And I'll even admit, Greg, right? There's been times on Periscope and, even recently I've been talking to some friends, and I notice there's a lot more competition going to the thrift stores. I notice it. I see them all scanning. I see a lot of booksellers there. I started 2 or 3 years ago, Greg, and I would rarely ever see a bookseller. So let's just be 100% real. Is there money to still be made selling books? Yes or no?
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, especially now, we're seeing these studies that are saying, hey, people actually don't love ebooks all that much. Ebook sales are actually down, and sales of real books outside of mass market paperbacks are flat and are increasing a little bit.
That's a really interesting fact right there. There's a lot of questions coming in, Greg, asking, what do you use to scan? I'm going to just jump right to that question. I know we had that on our outline and everything, but what are you using to scan? Maybe we could kind of jump ahead and we'll skip over that after. Maybe what are some of the tools that you use to scan and other equipment that you use to process books and whatnot?
We use NitoScan Inventory Manager, which is the same. It's the same product that they have on smartphones and PDAs. So on there it's called Nito Pricer, but it's the same thing. I know there's a lot of them nowadays, but I still have my old NitoScan PDA scanners. So but to run them on our line, we have 4 computers on one line and 3 computers on a second line. They're both about 30 feet long. And what happens is that is that we have two guys that are flipping the books face down after they get dumped onto the line, and then one or two people are scanning the books using NitoScan, and then it changes color just like it does on your phone or your PDA, green or red, or in our case blue, for the books we want to send to FBA.
Oh wow! So it gets thrown on this conveyor belt, right? Is that what it's called that you use?
Yes,
and it's those belts that, is it on it? I know, because I used to work at Toys R Us a long time ago, and we used to process the shipments from out of the truck, and they had a conveyor belt that actually moved on its own, kind of like an elevator or something, right? That kind of moves, and it's electrical. And then there's the ones that are like the metal little things that turn and you have to push it. Which one do you have?
Oh no, yeah, they're belts. That's the only way it would work. Yeah, it's a conveyor on a belt. And actually, Steve, you know what we can do? Not now, obviously, but maybe next time we can jump on something and we can go over a video that we can post on YouTube. We'll do a walkthrough of the shop.
That would be freaking cool. Let me know in the comment section, guys. Greg, that's it. Wow, I didn't expect you to offer that. Let me know in the comments, everybody. Do you want Greg and I to work on a video where he shows us behind the scenes? Because I'll tell you right now, I want that video regardless, because that is huge right there. So that's really cool. I will definitely take you up on that offer. So you throw the books on the conveyor belt upside down. You've got your employees scanning it. You're using NitoScan as your scanner, and you've actually set it up, or maybe it comes like it's stock where it'll actually show a color based on certain analytics that you want to see or you don't want to see.
Exactly right. Just like you do on your phone, or you set up triggers. It's a little more complex for us because it's on a computer, so we can it's a little more broad, or we can set up a lot more factors. But yeah, basically the same thing. If we want it, it's one color. If we don't, it's another color. And then the books go down for the girls to list them for sale. And the girls list about 1,000 books a day each if they're listing merchant fulfilled, or about 600 to 700 books a day if they're listing for FBA.
Wow, that's really cool. So I got a question for you. Are you a penny seller on Amazon? Are you one of those guys? Because I've always wondered my whole life, right? How are people making money on penny books? Are you a penny book seller? And even if you're not, can you explain why people put it at a penny if you can't make money?
If I had a penny for every time I answered that question, then I would be able to retire. But yes, I am. And I actually have a YouTube video that goes way deep into that. If you go into YouTube and search The Truth About Penny Books, it's about a 10-minute thing where we get into penny books big time. Because for a while, I was thinking about getting a business card that when I went to conferences and stuff and people asked me about penny books, I could just give them a QR code so they could just watch that video.
They just scan it and the video pops right up.
Yeah, right, yeah. So, but no, the real thing is it's all about the shipping. It's all about the shipping. Okay, so if a book weighs under a pound, you get a penny plus $3.99 shipping, so now you're at $4.
Got it.
And there's a $1.35 variable charge, so now you're at $2.65.
Okay.
Now, when you do high volume like we do, we can ship books for between $1.50 and $1.70 a lot of times if they're under a pound. So now we have between $1 and about 60 cents. So if you're doing volume and you have staff anyway, you can usually we plan on netting for every penny book that we sell between 25 and 30 cents after all of our expenses.
And that will add up.
So we sell. It certainly does. And so since we sell around 100 of them a day, times 30 days, that's enough to pay a pretty good mortgage. I think we make about $100 a day, give or take, in profit, which, that's $3,000. That's not enough to change the world, but it's enough to pay a pretty good mortgage and have a little bit left over. So, I mean, we're not changing the world with it, but, the big companies, Better World Books, Discover Books, that's a big part of their revenue.
So those numbers you're throwing out, the 3,000, that's just on the penny books.
Yeah, that's net just from penny books.
That's the penny books. So when you're scanning, what color is coming up when you hit the penny books? Is that like those?
It's green. Yeah, it's accepted just like any other book.
Oh, it's accepted just like any other book. Okay, I see what you're saying. And
but we only do them. We only keep one in stock, and if we have one in stock, it won't turn green. And we only do them ranked under 100,000 because we don't want them to sit there long.
So for the viewers watching right now, I'm sure a lot of people, their wheels are spinning and they're getting interested. Is this something that anybody could do, or is this something that you have to be doing a certain amount of volume? Is this something you recommend to someone who wants to get into books the way you're doing it? Or is this just a business model that you've seen work and there's other facets of your business model that you'd recommend other people to do?
Well, first off, no one in this business, that's the reason you're only hearing about this from me, is that no one ever talks about this. No one ever talks about how to do books in bulk the right way. Because if there was, I would have already like bought whatever they were selling, right? But that's just not something that people sell. And in fact, you know, for me, I don't think bulk is really the way to go. Definitely not at first, and maybe never. You know, my partner, Brian Young, if I was starting over, I'd most likely use his business model, which basically what he does is he hires book sourcers and he hires book listers, and then they ship the books to Amazon on his behalf. He never sees or touches anything. He just trains these people up to work for him. So he doesn't have to have a warehouse with I have a 60,000 square foot warehouse with it cost me 10 G's a month.
Wow.
Plus electric and gas and all that other crap. And in fact, Brian, he's so good at outsourcing that instead of running this whole system himself, he hired a manager to train the book, you know, the sourcer and the lister. So I mean, he's basically, him and I both, you know, that's why our business is called Bust Proof Business. That's why our website is called that, because we both, coming from different directions, built businesses where it's basically bus proof, which means if one of us got hit by a bus, or if we just decided that we wanted to watch, so if we wanted to watch daytime TV, or if we wanted to build ships and bottles, we could do that and our business wouldn't suffer at all.
So from what I'm hearing from you is you're not recommending to people to go with your specific model, like one part of your model, right? Because you do a lot. You do FBA, you do the penny books, you've got your other books and stuff like that. It sounds like you're not recommending people to go the bulk. What you're really saying is there's other business models out there. Like, I don't know if you're trying to say to go merchant or FBA. We could talk about that after. But what you're saying is a real smart way, if you could do it again, was to hire people to go out and source for you and kind of replace your time and have them go find it, have them go process it and ship it in. Then you could really leverage your time.
Exactly right. That's the easiest way to get to where Brian and I are at, which is the fact, Steve, that, you know, both of us were able to, it was last month or the month before, Brian went to Puerto Rico for about a month, and I went to Hawaii for about 6 weeks with my family. And during that whole time, both of us were gone. Our businesses ran fine, and they actually grew. So, but the quickest way to get to that point, where now you have your time that you can do whatever it is that you love to do, and so you don't have to worry about money anymore. The quickest way to do that with books is to follow the method that Brian pioneered. And so, you know, so what we have, Steve, today is we have a 3-part video training course that's absolutely free. And I think you have a link for that to give to the guys.
Yep.
But basically, what that does, what that video course is it teaches you exactly how Brian and I, we work on his method to outsource people that buy the books, to outsource people that list the books, and to ship them into Amazon for FBA. That's what that is exactly about, because we think that selling books makes a lot of money, but if you just do that all the time, you're just self-employed. You don't own a business, you own a job. And so for us, what it's about is entrepreneurship, you know, teaching other people how to hire folks to do this stuff, and so you can just watch the money roll in. Exactly.
And that's one of the mistakes that I made. And I see a lot of others making it as well. And I've been getting myself out of that, is we kind of become our own bottleneck in the business, right? We almost, it's not even a business. We literally buy a job, right? And there's nothing wrong with buying a job. I'd say it's a whole heck of a lot better than just sitting in a cubicle if you don't want to do that type of stuff. I used to work in the restaurant industry, but a lot of times we buy a job because we try to do everything ourselves. So, that's really cool. So you guys definitely be sure to check out that free 3-part video course. We're here to help you out, guys. That's what we're here for. We've got a whole show outline to help you guys out. We've got the free course below, and we're also going to open up the floor for Q&A. So any questions you guys have, feel free to ask, because Greg really is a wealth of knowledge, and we'd love to help you out as much as possible. We've got Dollar Moves in the comment section saying Greg is the man. Bookmaster. We also got Ed Sandoval saying, please, yes, do that behind the scenes video. We got Max Such Deal saying, with that kind of volume, Greg, how do you grade the books accurately? So how do you grade books accurately? Do you train your staff to look for certain things? And if they do see something that raises a red flag, they push it aside and then maybe someone double checks it? Or, what's your process in terms of grading books appropriately?
Yeah, that's a big issue that we have. Now, what we do is we sell all of our books. We sell as either good, acceptable, or brand new. Because you'd be surprised, there still are books that come down that are still, in the shrink wrap, that are still brand new. So we don't sell books as very good. We don't sell them as like new. We never do that, exactly because of how difficult that is to train people to do. So a book is either good or it's acceptable. And so we found that we really don't lose a lot of revenue by not selling books as very good or like new. And a lot of times we get feedback where people are excited, like, oh, wow, I thought this was going to be good, but it's actually much better than that.
So it seems like you've adopted the principle of, underpromise, overdeliver, almost in a sense. You don't want to overpromise and then underdeliver. I've purchased books off of Amazon before, and it says like new. The book's trashed. So I do see a lot of sellers out there trying to gain that competitive edge by trying to kind of overextend the condition of the book. So I really like that you mentioned that. Also, I have a question for you. This is actually a question of my own, because I've been wondering if it's necessary or if it's not necessary. When your team goes to list the book, what do you put for the description? I've seen some booksellers have no description. Other booksellers have like a stock description. Sometimes I'll just write good condition, fast shipping, or something like that. Is that good, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, in Nitoscan, the reason we can list 1,000 books a day, merchant fulfilled, and 600 or 700 a day per person FBA is because of those snippets, right? So we can, if there's highlighting, we click highlighting, and it'll have a little snippet about highlighting.
Oh.
And we can click underlining. There's a little snippet that'll automatically put in there for that. But yeah, they are all boilerplates. But it's very customizable. But the trick is, books are books. It's not as though, we don't do any of that weird stuff that they do like on books. I get a lot of stuff from real book people. Sometimes people complain. I don't talk about like all the imperfections, or there's a dinked corner. None of that matters. It's Amazon, guys. We're not selling to collectors. But people want a book they can read.
Funny story. I actually I got my mother into selling books. I'm actually really proud of it, because she was looking for something in her life to do. And you know how it is. Some folks, they get older and they just find themselves always just staying at home or watching TV, and they want to get out. They didn't really find what they want to do, or whatever. That's a long story. But I actually got her into selling books, and she loves it. My mom is like, you do not want to mess with, I call her Mama Profits. You do not want to mess with Mama Profits when she walks into the thrift store, because she doesn't care if the competition's there. She doesn't care if you're 6'4" scanning. She's coming right up to you and she's scanning. But the funny story is, she is so like critical about every little thing. And I keep saying, Mom, like, it's not a big deal. Like it's like, I've read her description. It's like page 46. There's a little crease on the page. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no. And she's like, Steven, I do not want to get a negative feedback. I'm a good seller. And I'm like, you know what, to each their own. She's trying, but, and she does well. She sells a couple $1,000s a month, believe it or not. Used books. She goes to thrift stores, garage sales now and then. But I guess really what I'm trying to say is, you don't have to be a perfectionist. Like you said, it is Amazon. And I also want to demonstrate that anybody could do this, right? Like, you could be 15, you could be 90, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, anybody can really do it. But if I could just make sure that the viewers get one good tip before we leave, I want to make sure that I suggest that you spend your time on what generates revenue. That's what you spend your time on. Now, when I first started our business, the very first thing that I did before I even took a salary myself was I hired someone to pick, pack, and ship the books. So I would list the books, and then because back then it was merchant fulfilled. So I would source the books, and I would list them. but I paid someone else to pick, pack, and ship because that freed up my time to go buy more books, right? And that was my secret sauce, is that I knew I knew what books to buy. I knew exactly how to do this. And so over time, my philosophy in business has always been to focus on what actually generates revenue. And unfortunately, what a lot of folks do, a lot of folks are like mama prophets, where they're focusing, unfortunately, on things that don't actually generate revenue.
Yeah, that's a really good point there. Not even for books, but just anything in life. What is it? The 80-20 rule, right? A lot of times it's the 20%, right? It's those few things that we do that really have the most impact. And in our business, right? In your book business, I'm sure there's 20% of the things that are really generating the most income. So that's really good advice. That is awesome advice, Greg. I'm looking in the comment section. We have a lot of people who are watching right now. I want to shout out some more people. We've got Irving Z. What's going on, Irving? We've got KM Knowledge Man. Good to see you. I'm going to answer your questions in a second. We got Thorum in the house. Coraday 65. I'm so bad, guys. I'm sorry about mentioning names. I'm bad, but I love that you guys are here. We got Cody. Cody is from Australia, Greg. We're going international on this live broadcast right now. But I want to thank you guys. This is a ton of fun. Irving Z said, actually, it's a question that I don't think is accurate, but he says, what made you do FBA? Because you're primarily merchant. Maybe we could rephrase that and say, what made you go more towards merchant selling versus going FBA? Because if you watch any of the YouTube videos now, I mean, everybody's on FBA. It's like the gold rush, it seems like. Why did you decide to zag when everyone zigged, or zigged when everyone zagged? I forget how it goes.
Well, a lot of it is the way, I started 6 years ago. So when I started training my staff, it was to do merchant fulfilled. And so a lot of it is sort of legacy. If I was starting over, I probably would go mostly FBA, but there's still, I don't think I would be 100% FBA, but I would sell quite a few more books FBA. I think it's a great program, but over the years, I've developed things to make it a little bit easier. So we actually just, I didn't even plan on talking about this, but we actually are beta testing a new version of software that we call the FBA Toolkit. And what it does is whatever primary piece of software that you're using to list or to price your books or whatever, you scan into whatever application you're using, and my app will know that you've used a barcode scanner and pull up the used FBA offers inside of that application in a browser, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So basically what that be able to happen is it makes the girls almost twice as fast when they're listing as they were before.
That's really cool. That's awesome. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Right now we've used it internally, and my audience has been clamoring for us to release a version of it, and we're really close to being able to start beta testing something like that. But those kind of things made it useful to use FBA, because I actually have a YouTube video on my channel called FBA Sucks. Because for my business, right? Because what happened is at that time, the ladies that were listing books for me were less than half. They could list less than half of the number of books in FBA as they could merchant fulfill.
Oh, I see.
Which meant that my labor cost would double. And Steve, I'm already spending $10,000 a week in labor.
Wow.
So that's no joke, right? So we can't be farting around with that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So that's why we do a lot of merchant fulfill. The other thing that's really great is that, let's say that a truckload of books cost me, it usually costs me between $2,000 and $5,000 a truckload. So if I sell merch fulfilled, I can almost always make most of my money back before the books would even get to FBA. Because we have to build pallets and we have to list all these books and send them out. If you list them in merch fulfilled, they're available for sale right then. You don't have to wait for the books to get to. And if you guys have never sent in pallet-sized lots to Amazon, it takes a whole heck of a lot longer for Amazon to put those in stock than they do single parcels.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I've never done a pallet before, so maybe another time we could talk about that. That's really cool. But can I ask you, let's say there's somebody out there, Greg, who maybe they're just getting started, right? Or maybe they've only sold a few books. What advice would you have for somebody in terms of how to source books, right? Where could the average Joe go to be able to source books, or maybe some secret places that a lot of sellers don't go to? What are the best places for you and your partner? Where do you guys go to source when you're not, getting the truckloads and stuff like that?
Well, when we saw there's something that no one ever talks about. Now everybody knows about libraries, bookstores, and thrift stores. Those are the big ones that we all know about. But there's a place that almost nobody ever talks about, and I think I'm the only guy that ever did, is recyclers. Recyclers. Now here's the trick, right? Is that the reason why most people don't do books, in all honesty, is because it's dirty. It's not sexy, right? It's not like private label and wholesale.
You're making it sexy, Greg. You are making it sexy.
But no, it's not really. And so with recyclers, though, you can go to a recycler and say, hey, I'd like to check these books out. And in fact, you know what I'll do for you? I'm going to go ahead and sort these books for you into paperback and hardcover so that you can make more money. And all I'd ask is that you let me take a couple boxes home. Wow. And you know what happens when you do that, Steve? You get the books for free. I have friends of mine that have actually been paid to sort Gaylords of books for recyclers and take out what they want to take home.
Really? That's cool. Where do you find a recycler? Like, are they all over the place?
Well, they are. Paper recyclers are all over the place. You just, whatever your town, Google whatever town it is, and paper recyclers.
Wow.
And actually, I know on at busproofbusiness.com on our products, one of the things we have is a recycler contact template with a video walkthrough of the template.
Oh,
so you
cool.
can go ahead and sign up, download that for free, and that's something that we have on the site, where it's a template to contact recyclers, and I do a video walkthrough of the template as well.
That's really cool right there. Somebody's asking, Greg. Let me see if I can find that comment. Where is it? I'm trying to find you. It's so hard. The comments are going so quick. Somebody asked, if I want to get started hiring other people to scan, how do you handle the paychecks, taxes, IRS? I know this is pretty deep right here. But maybe some advice on paying employees. I mean, I know we could probably cover that another time. It's a pretty deep question.
Well, and here's the good news about doing it this way. Like, if you're doing it in a way where they're not working in your building, where they're not using your car, where they're using their own money at first, and then you reimburse them, then they're independent contractors, and all you do is write them a check. You don't do anything else. So you don't have to file anything. You just write them a check as a contractor.
1099,
you file a
right?
1099.
Yep.
Yeah, 1099 at the end of the year, and that's it. So doing it the way that Brian Young does it, and Steve, you really got to get him on the show. But so doing it the way that Brian Young does it, he doesn't have employees. He doesn't mess with any of that. He has these independent contractors, and he has training videos that he has them watch and show that they're proficient in. They go source the books. He pays them like, I think, $1 a book plus their expenses. And then the book sourcers take the books over to the book lister's house, because you want to have those two jobs separate so that there's less of a chance for there being any hanky-panky going on.
Oh, I see.
So the guys that are listing the books have a whole different skill set that you've trained them to do than the sourcers.
That's really cool.
And see, here's the whole part. And the cool thing about, Brian has a book called Book Flipping that he talks about all this stuff in. And basically, we have training materials that you can send people to watch these videos that we've created that that can train your people for you.
I think that's the next step in a lot of people's businesses. I know for mine especially, I actually have a buddy who I met up with in California, and he does the same exact thing. I believe he's got 3 employees in 3 different states, and he sets up in these these honey hole places, and he's got it all trained, right? He doesn't touch them. He's got it trained in terms of, this is what they buy. They pay this much based on the margins. They look for these certain ranks, and they buy it all. They process it, and he's got a whole system in line. And that's something I really want to learn more about as well. I think that really is the next step, because again, if there's 2 things that you can be doing right now. You could be running a job that you own, or you could be running a business. And it's cool that you named your website Bus Proof Business, because if you get hit by a bus, you'll still have a business. So that's awesome right there, man. In terms of sourcing books, I know we talked about this a little bit, but where else can people go to find books? I know we talked about, you know, some of the average places, but like for the normal person, is a thrift store good? Like, is there still money to be made at thrift stores? Do you have your sourcers going there?
Yeah, it depends on the area, but most of the time, thrift stores are still pretty good, especially Salvation Armies, because unlike most people don't realize this, but almost no Salvation Armies sell books online. Almost none of them do. And some, a lot of the Goodwills do, but I'll tell you this much too, Steve, is that a lot of thrift stores are really bad at this. They're very, very bad at selling books online for a lot of reasons. Bad logistics. Bad logistics is a really big one, because, like I said, all these stores have way more books than they could ever put on their shelves, and a lot of times they hire folks that might not be the cream of the crop to work on some of these projects. And so we have things, and so we have a lot of stuff that falls through the cracks. In fact, that $2,700 book that I told you that I sold, it was from Margin of Safety. It was from a local Goodwill that had a scanning program. And I still bought those books for $0.05 a pound from them because I knew they were no good at it.
It's all processes. They're in the business. They're used to selling books in a physical location. I don't think they're trained up and have the systems in place to really be able to master the logistics involved with selling online. It's two completely different businesses. Will they ever get to that point? I'm sure they will eventually, possibly. But there's a ton of money to be made right now. Don't get into this mindset, anybody watching, that, you know, these thrift stores are scanning and stuff. A lot falls through the cracks.
And not all of them do. You know, there's a lot of thrift stores I work with that they I mean, they know what we do, and they said, well, Greg, look, we had this online program, but honestly, it's just too much work. I'd rather just sell you the books for double the money that I'm selling for you, than I'm selling them right now, and just not deal with it anymore. Yep. And so that happens a lot. Another thing is that what we have to understand is that you can't come into this thing fearful. There's most people that sell books are really, really lazy, number one, and most places that scan books are really, really bad at it. So I have a lot of friends that when I started in this industry in my area, I met a lot of people that scan books too, but almost a year or two later, they were still doing the same thing. And I was light years above. I did 140,000 our first year, 370 our second year. And the reason why, with no outside capital, the reason why is that two things. Number one was that I only took enough money out of my business to where I did not starve and my wife did not leave me. That's the number one trick.
That's important.
Yeah, that is important. But number two is that I've never been afraid to talk to people and build relationships in order to get books and in order to help folks. So doing that and saying you need to come to these guys and say, hey, look, I know that you guys have way too many books. I want to take them off your hands. Steve, I'm not even going to charge you to pick these books up from you, but it'll clean out your warehouse and you won't have to worry about them anymore.
That's awesome. Awesome. That's awesome advice. Don't be scared to talk to people, guys. You know, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Most people, they're scared. They're frightened. They're fearful to communicate with others. Don't be scared to talk to the managers, the thrift stores, to work out deals. And it seems like it's really working out well for you, Greg. I'm looking in the comment section right now. There's a lot of people leaving comments, and I'm going to start opening up the floor for some Q&A. I do want to ask you guys right now to do two things for me if you guys have enjoyed this video. First thing is hit the like button right now. Show some love right now for Greg Murphy. He's out here when he's got a 60,000 square foot shop. He's got employees. I mean, he's got a wife. He's got other things that he probably could be doing, but he's out here helping, giving back. And I truly appreciate you being here. So for everybody watching, if you enjoy this video, hit the like button, show some love. Also, number two, if you want to learn more about this and you want another free resource, be sure to go into the link the description. Get the link in the description. And Greg has actually given away a free 3-video-part video course, which could really help you out with some of the more advanced stuff and whatnot. So definitely get that as well. I'll have an annotation on the screen as well. But yeah, guys, let's jump into the comment section and see what is going on. Cody Orgel is asking, and we kind of already touched on this, so I'm going to kind of just answer it real quick. Greg, does the condition of the books need to be in excellent condition? And he already kind of touched on that and said, you know, he's got a grading system, acceptable, good, and I think new, right?
Yeah, new. If it is new, yeah, if it's brand new.
Exactly. So don't be too like crazy about the condition. Let's see. Somebody asked, how do you scan books, or how do you have your sourcers scan books in a thrift store where there's no cell phone signal?
Well, I'm old school. We've been doing this for 6 years, so I don't use cell phones anyway. I use databases because it's way faster. So old folks like me have PDAs with scanners on top of them that go off of a local database. So we don't need to have the internet. We don't need to have any of that. And you can there's services where you can even rent that stuff, like on eBay.
Yeah.
You can pay so much a month or whatever for that. So again, I'm sure, Steve, you know all the resources that
Sure.
you can let folks know. I haven't done this in a long time. We usually just stick at the shop and have the books come to us.
I used to, when I first got started scanning books, I didn't even have like Profit Bandit or Amazon Seller app. I use the Amazon Seller app, but it drives me freaking nuts sometimes because it's so slow at times with the internet and in my phone. That's a whole nother story. But I actually started scanning with a Dell Axum 51, I believe. Are you guys using phones? Is NitoScan going on your phone, or are you using like a Dell Axum and just downloading the database to it?
Well, when we're out in the field, I think that we use a different brand. We don't use the Axums anymore when we went out. There's some, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a little bit more heavy duty. It's an HP 2195 something. I don't know. I don't remember for sure, but we have a few of those units. But at the shop, we have NitoScan installed on our computer, on our PCs. So we have a scanner that's plugged in with the USB. So we have the monitors where we can see it,
Got
real
it.
big on the screen.
We just hit 100 live viewers, so big shout out to everybody watching live right now. Appreciate the love. That is awesome. Let's dive into something a little more sexy. Yes, I use that word because this is going to be sexy, what we're going to be talking about. How to analyze a book. All right, you get a book. What's a good rank? What's a bad rank? What's long tail? What's a fast seller? Let's just smash it out the park right now, because I know there's a lot of people wondering this, and I just saw a question. How do you analyze the a book in terms of buy or not buy?
Well, Brian Young and I, we've talked about this a lot, and there's some other real smart guys around like Caleb Roth that's real analytical, and all of us have basically come to the conclusion that sales rank just doesn't give us as much information as we used to think.
Oh, wow.
What sales rank basically does is it tells us the last time that a book sold. So, all of us, a lot of people have the story where there's books that are ranked 6 or 7 million. They sell one copy, and now it's ranked 300 or 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
So now sales rank, I always say that sales rank is like using an axe or a chainsaw when what you really need is a scalpel. So unfortunately, sales rank is all we got, right? So all of that stuff being said, in general, anything that's ranked under 500,000 to 1 million should sell relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get above 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, now you're looking at more long tail items. But I really don't see much of a difference between a book that's ranked 2 million and a book that's ranked 4 million, myself personally.
Will you go up to 9 million, 10 million?
Well, see, I have a unique business, Steve. I already bought the books. So I'll list anything, so I'll go ahead and list it. I think the rule is that if the book is worth more than $5 merchant fulfilled, we'll list it no matter what the rank is.
Okay, cool. Awesome right there.
But if I was out scouting, I would probably say that I'm going to have to make at least 5x on the book if I'm going to go over 2 million in rank. Excuse me. I want to 5x it if I'm going over 2 million, and I really don't want more than 10 to 20% of my purchases to be those long tail books. So if I have a sourcing budget of $1,000, I wouldn't want to spend more than $100 to $200 on those types of books.
Awesome. Somebody asked in terms of hiring sourcers to go out for you, because I know a lot of people are really excited about this topic. So say you hire somebody to go out and source for you. How do you know that they're not going to, and I know you kind of talked about breaking up the jobs, but how do you know that they're not going to scan a book and see that it's $60 and put it to the side? I know there's obviously, you just got to have that level of trust, but do you have any advice for people who are like, they're not taking that next step in their business because they're so fearful of not being able to trust people?
Yeah, that really is the number one concern, right? And here's where I think that comes from is that, you know, Steve, me, you, the 100 people that are watching this right now, we're all assuming that everyone is like us. And I'll tell you guys, we're the weird ones. Most people are not entrepreneurial at all. Most people they want to have a job, they want to go to work, they want to get paid and go home and drink a beer. They don't want to have to worry about a business. So one of the things that Brian and I suggest in our content is, look, when you're talking to these guys, you always want to talk about, you know, the expenses and how Amazon's fees and all. You want to let people have the full picture of the business, and especially your sourcers, so they realize, hey, if I get this book for $60, that doesn't mean it's going to sell for $60, and it certainly doesn't mean that if it did, I would get all that money. The guy that had that $60 book, I promise you that he would rather take that dollar, along with all the other dollars that he's making from all the other books he's sourcing from you, and go home and feed his kids, instead of opening up an Amazon account, sending stuff in, doing the tax forms, paying the fees. I mean, I'm telling you, I could build houses with the amount of money that I've spent in Amazon fees.
Could I add some more to that list?
Yeah.
I have a guy, a buddy of mine, going out sourcing for me a little bit on the side. It's not really like systematic, but he's just out at the thrift store looking for clothes for himself. And I told him, just go scan a few books and bring me some good ones. And I've been buying some books off him, but he's been kind of giving me this little attitude, like, how dare you offer me like $15 for like a $60 book or something like that. I'm just throwing out a random example. And I'm like, listen, man, do you realize that there's risk involved, right? Like, and there's time involved. Like, I have to process it. I have to ship it in. There's returns, right? There's damaged products. There's lost products. There's shipping. There's price wars. I mean, how many times have you listed a textbook at $60 and within a month it's down to 10? I mean, it happens all the time. So there are risks involved, and I think it's really smart to communicate that with your sourcers. And it's something I'm definitely going to do when I go more into that. Communicate the logistics of it all. It's real. It's not all just like $60, boom. So I think that answers the question, guys. Just do a little better job at communicating with the people of how it really works, and I think it'll help you out. Let's see. We got more questions coming in. Let's see. Do you use a repricer, Greg?
Well, we do for merchant fulfilled. We do technically. Nito scan reprices for all of our books that we have, but we don't. The problem, and this is going to get a little bit more technical, but Amazon's API only returns the lowest 20 used offers for a particular title. Now that becomes a problem when you have books in FBA, because a lot of times there's a lot of books for a penny or a dollar, and so you won't find an FBA offer in that lowest 20. So repricing books becomes a problem. I have over 100,000 titles on my shelves right now, and about 40,000 in FBA, Steve. So I can't go through one at a time like other folks can to change their prices. So we really have to use a little bit of hillbilly duct tape and resolve to try to figure out exactly what those prices are, and say, okay, using the software with the limitations it is, and say, okay, this is the price that it's going to be, and after 60 days we're going to lower it by 20%, and after 60 more days, if it's still there, we'll lower it by another 20%, and on and on. Because all the repricers are awful, but it's not their fault. It's because Amazon just doesn't give them the data.
I see exactly what you're saying. That's really good advice right there. Somebody asked how to prep books when you're shipping them in. Are you polybagging them, or are you just bada bing, bada boom, sending them in?
Yeah, please don't polybag books. That's awful. That's a total waste of time. We already talked about how doing things that bring in revenue, and there's a lot of, and I get a lot of flack for this, Steve. I get a lot of flack for this, and the Facebook groups and from other people, that they treat these things. I mean, they probably just want to put one book in per box with peanuts all around it and send it to Amazon. That's what they want to do. But to me, we said just send them in naked. So what we do, we fill the box up with books all the way to the top, shut it down, get some tape over there, bing, bang, and we're done. That's all I do.
Mama Prophet, she actually wraps them with like Christmas wrapping, puts a ribbon on it. No, I'm just kidding. But I wouldn't be surprised. I have a friend who, I'm not going to say his name, but if he's listening, you know who I'm talking about. He said when he first started reselling, he bought a huge lot of books. It was like 1,000 or 2,000 books. And he says every single book, he bubble wrapped it and like put it in, like, I don't know what he did, but it was like this huge process. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like books, you could throw these things around. They'll be good. And again, leverage your time, spend your time doing what really generates revenue. And, your $10,000 a week payroll would probably go up to $20,000 a week if you treated each thing like a little princess, and it just doesn't make sense at times. So, obviously, are they going to get books that get a little damage here and there? Yeah, I'm sure, right? Things happen now and then. It's part of the game, but it's probably not worth your time. So hopefully that helps you guys. Somebody asked, what about sealed moldware? I got some that are worth 30 to 80 bucks. Ever sold a book with moldware? I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what that is either. But if you mean if there's moldy books, sometimes you have those little orange specks on the books. You just got to get rid of them. Because what happens is that, first off, when you sell them, people are going to be upset. And if you put them on the shelves with the rest of your books, that stuff can travel. So as you handle them, so it's never a good idea to have mold. There's really the two big enemies of books are mold and humidity, right? And they're related, right? So we don't want either of those two things in the shop if we can help it. Okay,
so you don't want to store your books in too hot of an environment with too much humidity. What's that going to do?
Well, if your books are, if it's too humid, it's going to warp the pages, right?
Oh, I see.
A lot of times you see books you think are water damaged,
yeah.
And what it can just be is they were just in somebody's garage in Florida or something like that.
Okay.
Cool. The good news for me in Dayton, Ohio, where I live, there's no climate control in our warehouse at all, nothing like that. We're just lucky enough that it never gets bad enough that it's a problem.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that would be a big problem with, I don't know how many books you have in your warehouse. If it got too humid in there, you would have a big problem. But hey, man, we're getting to that time. We've got about 1 more minute till the show's going to end, and I want to keep my promise to the 1 hour because I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of things to do. But I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank everybody who's taken the time to watch this show. Hopefully you guys learned something, and it's been a ton of fun. It really has. We've talked about a whole bunch of different things in terms of books, what to buy. We talked about his best sale, where to source items, what equipment. We talked about tools. We talked about analyzing books, and there's a lot more to learn as well. So I do want to ask you guys, again, 2 more things. Hit the like button, show some love for sure. We appreciate that. And also be sure to get Greg Murphy's free 3-part video series. You can get it below where you just got to put in your email and you send it over to him.
Exactly right. Yep.
Anything else you could tell them about that?
Yeah. It's really about having that entrepreneurial mindset and building your business in a way that's going to be bust proof, in a way that you don't want to paint yourself in a corner where now your revenue is based upon your time investment, because that's linear, and that's not how we want to do business. And so it's about selling books, but more importantly, it's about entrepreneurship.
Cool. That's awesome. And Greg also made a promise. It's live. It's documented that he's going to show us behind the scenes, hopefully, behind the scenes of your actual warehouse. Did you say you were going to show us kind of like how you were processing? You could definitely set up a really cool video, man, and do that. That would be awesome.
And Steve, you're always welcome to come out. And yeah, I'll do this with you anytime.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, thank you so much, Greg. Thanks, everybody watching. Again, hit the like button, get the free course in the description. Greg, we're going to have you on again soon. We'll be talking and showing some more cool things. So until next time, thanks again, everybody, and we will see you in the next live show. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.